We are ready to go racing then. The green flag will be shown at the rear of the grid to say that everybody is where they ought to be. The lights will in a moment go red. It is round 25 of the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship from Silverstone. It is blast off with a good getaway by DeLeon. Not a great start by Josh Cook. Good launch also made by Aidan Moffat. And on the run down towards Cops Corner, DeLeon leads and Jake Hill tries to go the long way around the outside of Gordon Shedden. That did not quite work, I don't believe, and it's indeed going rather wide, Gordon Shedden. Ash Sutton, I think, was up against the wall as he made his way down towards Cops. He's got away with it, but it is going to be Daryl DeLeon from Gordon Shedden, and up into third, Dan Lloyd, as they arrive at Beckett. So Jake Hill shuffled back one spot in the pack.
Yeah, Ash Sutton, I was watching, he got the jump on Mikey Doble, but was a little bit of contact very close to the pit wall on the run down to turn one.
And Sutton's still involved in a big fight, but look at Shedden, he's all over the back of DeLeon. This is going to be fascinating. Daryl DeLeon, one of the young guns of the championship, against one of the more experienced drivers on the grid, one of the most successful on the grid in Gordon Shedden, who's up the inside, look, coming out of the second part of Luffield, side by side with the BMW. Daryl DeLeon on the outside line, Gordon Shedden on the inside line. Gordon Shedden, he's going to get his nose in front at the end of lap one, and after his best qualifying of the season, Gordon Shedden led across the line. He'll get a point at the championship for that, but DeLeon is right with him on the outside line. It's Dan Lloyd third as they round Cops. DeLeon way wide off the racetrack, but he maintains the momentum and he's still on the attack. Shedden leads. Lloyd's going to have the inside line for Beckett's last of the late breakers. They both lock up. Lloyd sideways. DeLeon goes wide and Jake Hill nips up to third. DeLeon, though, is in danger of losing more places here.
Well, the front-wheel drive cars know that the BMWs take a little bit longer to heat their tyres up when they're cold, and they're vulnerable on lap one. Talk of vulnerable, here comes Lloydie down the inside of Shedden, and he's pulled it off. Fantastic first couple of laps from Dan Lloyd.
Brilliant stuff. Dan Lloyd in the independent Restart Racing Hyundai, not a factory, not a works car. He comes through the right hand of Luffield, and this is looking back from Dan Lloyd's car. So you've had briefly Daryl DeLeon on the lead, you've had Gordon Shedden in the lead, now you've got Dan Lloyd in the lead as they come diving down towards Cops Corner to start lap 3 of 22. Restart Racing has been successful in the independents this year, but could an outright race win head the team's way? This is on board with Sutton, and Ash Sutton already up into 9th place. Ingram's up into 11th, but Sutton needs to be ahead of Ingram to take points off him, of course.
Yeah, well, Sutton's focus is at the moment in this race is on going forward. This is on board with Ingram. There's a lock up further in front of him, so Ingram is just pacing himself. Sutton's trying to go forward to get as many points as possible rather than backing Ingram into any further trouble, at least at this point in the race.
Now Gordon Shedden's coming under attack from Jake Hill, and that might just give Dan Lloyd a bit of breathing space. Dan has been a race winner, of course, in the championship before. He's got 3 outright race wins to his name. Shedden is second, Hill right with him. In 4th place now it's Senna Proctor and Daryl DeLeon trying to rebuild his race after making that mistake. So Lloyd leads, end of the lap, replay of the start.
Great launch off the line by DeLeon. Look further back on the inside. Sutton goes down the inside. Oh, actually it wasn't Mikey Doble, it was Chris Smiley. A really good move.
I think it was Taylor Smith, possibly. Let's have a look. Because Smiley was behind on the grid. But this is the view from Ingram. Yeah, it was Aaron Taylor Smith. Yes. Just up the road in the Toyota. Sutton squeezes by, Ingram squeezes by as well.
Yeah, good start, good view. Ingram probably quite pleased that Sutton is going forwards rather than backwards. A little bit of greater experience with Jake Hill and the BMWs, allowing him to get the tyres up to temperature quicker than Daryl DeLeon.
As now Jake Hill tries again to get past Gordon Shedden, diving down towards Brooklands. There is Ash Sutton on the outside line, trying to gain ground, but Ingram is up the inside line, and Tom Ingram is ahead of him, and that is absolutely vital for him. So Ingram is making progress now as he comes through ahead of Sutton. You've also got the Charles Rainford BMW in the mix as well. You've got Mikey Doble. Now Doble's situation, of course, matters relative to Lloyd and Smiley because they are all fighting for independent championship honours. But Dan Lloyd now leads by 0.6 of a second as that's Jake Hill going through. He moves himself up past Gordon Shedden. So now Hill sets off in pursuit of Dan Lloyd. Don't forget Dan led at Snetterton and lost out late race to Dan Rowbottom. He's leading here. Could he be denied by Jake Hill?
Yeah, quite possibly. Well, that wasn't a scenario I saw happening of Ingram getting in front of Sutton. Not at all. So Sutton had a bad lap, didn't he, to have dropped back.
Yeah, this is a sensible day for Tom Ingram. Yeah, elbows out, force your way through. Right, down they come towards Brooklands. The gap between the leaders is coming down. Although at the moment, Dan Lloyd has done the fastest lap of the race, but you can see Hill is getting closer all the time. Dan Lloyd has got 10 laps of boost left, 11 for Gordon Shedden. Jake Hill only has 7 left. He only started with 9, of course. He was on that slightly reduced scale by dint of being well up in the championship. And you can see the way the gap is coming down. The BMWs, we said before the race had started, have looked really quick this weekend. And look at the way that Jake Hill is right up with Dan Lloyd, side by side into Copse. They touch, but Lloyd hangs on in there.
Yeah, the boost is worth so much around here. If you're using it and the other driver isn't, it is worth a big performance gain, as much as half to 3/4 of a second.
So through Beckett's comes Dan Lloyd there with Jake Hill chasing on behind him. Then you've got in third place Gordon Shedden, and he's not given up yet in his quest to get back ahead of Hill. So these three still squabble, and there are just under 17 laps to go as they drop towards Brooklands again. Senna Proctor is fourth, fifth is Rowbottom, sixth is Moffat, seventh is Cook. DeLeon is down to eighth after his moment at Beckett's. Ninth is Ingram, 10th is Sutton.
And Sutton is not close behind Ingram. He's actually well behind. This was the move here further up. That's when Sutton got into a little bit of contact that gave Ingram the run out of Beckett's onto the back straight. A lot more speed coming off the corner on the boost, I think, on this lap, and through he goes. But Sutton hasn't been able to stay with him.
No, that's right. So at the moment, you've got Sutton in 10th place, and for the race lead, Lloyd and Hill this time around. Gap, the Shedden and Proctor battle. Rowbottom coming under attack from Moffat, who is level with him at Mangots and ahead by the time they get to Beckett's.
Yeah, that's the power of the Toka Turbo boost. If you save it all up and use it for one long stretch against a car that hasn't got any or isn't using any on the lap, it's worth that easy overtake.
Rowbottom was using the boost, I think, coming out of Beckett's to try to fight back. Meantime, this is Ingram's view, and he is hunting down Daryl DeLeon, who has not, of course, been able to convert pole position into a good race result here. But let's see what does go on for the race lead. Lloyd versus Hill. It was 4/10 last time across the stripe, and this time it looks as though Dan Lloyd may have, partly by using the boost, gone away just a little bit further. Over the line there goes Dan Rowbottom, and he is still coming under attack. Josh Cook right with him now, so the Napa Racing UK Ford may lose another spot. The gap between the leaders is up again, now nearly 9/10.
Rowbottom is the first car, though, on the medium tyre. All the top 8 cars, apart from him, are on the soft tyre. So Moffat went by, and he's now under pressure, obviously, from Josh Cook, but they're on the soft tyre, and he's on the medium.
And Ingram and Sutton are on that medium as well, so their pace is tempered by dint of being on that slightly slower tyre. But you've just seen there Ingram make his move against Daryl DeLeon, and that puts him up into 8th place overall, and importantly it puts a car between him and Sutton.
Well, the race hasn't panned out for Daryl DeLeon at all, has it? He's never switched those tyres on and got the car going in quite the same way that Jake Hill has, and that looked like a pretty easy pass from Tom Ingram. Cook's got past Rowbottom as well.
Race leaders go by. There are lots of driving standards flags for track limit offences, pretty much to everybody within the top 10. But the Restart Racing Hyundai of Dan Lloyd leads the way. The gap's down again, though, because on that lap through, Jake Hill was a fair bit quicker, nearly half a second faster. So the gap is down. Restart Racing has not had an overall race win. Dan Lloyd then trying to hang on in there, and he's being helped possibly by Hill, being caught by Shedden. If that battle takes up attention, it takes some of the pressure off Lloyd. Shedden then in the Toyota Gazoo Racing UK Corolla fighting back against Jake Hill in that Lade Tools Racing with MB Motorsport BMW, and as they get to Brooklands you can see the Hyundai has just edged away again.
Yeah, it does depend on how they're using the boost, but there's a flash of lights from Jake Hill to say he's coming. This is the move on Daryl DeLeon, and through he goes. That's an easy pass for Sutton.
It is indeed, so it moves him up one spot. He's back on the tail of Ingram once again as Dan Lloyd goes through. The margin this time is 0.8 of a second over Hill, then Shedden, then Proctor. Small gap back to Moffat 5th, then it's Cook with Rowbottom, Ingram and Sutton. Now this is going to be interesting, isn't it? Ingram's stuck behind one Napa Racing Ford and being chased by his main rival in a Napa Racing Ford. So what's Rowbottom going to do? Let's find out.
He will drive a very defensive, tight line. He'll use his boost strategically to deny Ingram, who has less than him, but he will, in doing so, back Ingram into Sutton.
So Ingram will be aware of what is fore and aft and look to try to make that move as quickly as. Rowbottom defends. Ingram goes to the inside line. He doesn't want to get himself in jeopardy, but equally he doesn't want to sit there and be caught and attacked by Sutton. So now you're going to see exactly what Ingram is made of. A tight line at the right of Luffield. He's trying to squeeze up the inside of the Ford. He's up the curb. He's on the grass. Elbows out. Ingram opens the door. There's not much that Rowbottom can do there seemingly by way of retaliation. We know how quick that Hyundai is. They come out of Woodcote. You are riding on board with Ash Sutton, watching what's going on ahead, thinking, come on, Dan, hold him up for me, but Ingram is going to be ahead by the end of the straight, and that was not that difficult.
No, it really wasn't. I mean, the door was left open by Rowbottom at Luffield. I know Ingram used half the inside of the curb and the grass, but that's a well-known touring car move, and Rowbottom really left that door open for him.
So that allows Ingram to gain places, gain points. Now you can anticipate a switch for Rowbottom to let Sutton go by, compromise his own race for the greater good of the championship for his teammate. As far as Rowbottom is concerned, he's fighting against Dan Camish, remember, for third in the standings, while Camish is down in 16th place and Rowbottom's 8th. So he's still ahead of Dan Cam, and that's what matters to Rowbo at the minute.
Yeah, but what they may tell Rowbottom to do is to use all of his boost every lap and try and get back in front of Ingram, because he's got more than either of the other two in terms of laps of boost.
So let's find out.
And there he's on it now. You can see the light in the rear quarter panel flashing. Let's find out what they do decide, as Lloyd is still ahead of Hill, 0.8 of a second the margin. We've got 11 laps to go. Lloyd, Hill, Shedden the top three. Proctor 4th. Moffat is in 5th. Josh Cook 6th. And of course, Dan Lloyd is also the leading independent right now from Mikey Doble and then Chris Smiley. The independence contest really tight with just a couple of points between Doble and Lloyd, and then another point back Chris Smiley. Ingram still accelerating his way down Wellington Straight, is ahead of Rowbottom, and then you've got Sutton behind. Not yet close enough to think about getting any help from his teammate. Not at the moment. I mean, if Rowbottom can't do anything with Ingram, they will switch places, but I think I can see what they're trying to do at the moment. But Ingram's got really good pace in this race. And another Hyundai battle, Adam Morgan versus Tom Chilton, the two Team Virtue teammates running together. They accelerate now up towards Woodcote with Charles Rainford just up the road a little bit as they dive now through Cops Corner. That's Senna Proctor with a bit of damage. Aidan Moffat behind him. The series technical team don't often like flapping bodywork, and there is a little bit of it on the back of Senna Proctor's car now. Moffat right there behind him, and Josh Cook 6th in the Toyota, trying to buy into this as well. Well, since the officials clamped down on flapping bodywork with mechanical warning flags, we've seen the teams beef up the wheel arches, and we haven't seen it for a while, but I think that's probably marginal. Is Sutton going to go past now? Yeah, Rowbottom's going to let him through. So Rowbottom's attack on Ingram has failed to materialise. Dan Rowbottom, even with the indicator on there, so made it very obvious what was going on. And come on past Ash, he says. I'll peel over here. So yeah, indicator on. He doesn't even do that on the road. Coming out of Luffield then, accelerating up towards the end of lap number 13. Dan Lloyd goes by. Race leader then, and the margin down fractionally. 7/10 he has over Jake Hill. Gordon Shedden staying with them, isn't he? And look at this, 4th, 5th, 6th. Now you've got Proctor, you've got Moffat, you've got Cook all running together. Ingram is 7th, the best of the drivers on the medium tyre. Chilton's made extremely good progress from the back of the grid. Another charge, a bit like we saw at Donington. Drove a fantastic race there to charge through, but he's up to a 13th from the back. And Dan Camish 16th, so progress, but not quite to the same level. This is how we stand in the championship. Ingram ahead of Sutton. It will be 33 points. That margin. 1 point more than they came in, 32. With Dan Camish hanging on to 3rd for now, but with Dan Rowbottom getting closer to him in that battle between those two Napa Racing teammates. You're looking at Proctor versus Moffat. You're looking at 4th and 5th as they come out of Luffield, and Josh Cook sometimes close, sometimes dropping back a little bit in the Toyota there in 6th spot. There are the leaders. It was 7/10 last time. It's down to just under half a second this time. Jake Hill having another push. Another push indeed as they choose which laps to use their Toka Turbo boost. At the moment, Lloyd's got 5 laps left. Hill's only got 3. Shedden actually has the most at 7. Yeah, all of that experience and guile of Gordon Shedden. Do not rule him out yet, as there's another good scrap coming wide out of Cops Corner. Mikey Doble there. All of that is round about 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th places. In and amongst it, Doble, Chilton, Rainford, and that's Chilton getting ever so slightly squirrely under braking as he arrives at Beckett's ahead of Aaron Taylor-Smith. Yeah, Camish was the beneficiary there. He gained a couple of places now. And a replay of what happened on the previous lap at Luffield. Mikey Doble being given a bit of help by Chilton, and that put him into the back of Daryl DeLeon, and Mikey Doble's car getting well and truly roughed up. This is on board with Camish. Yeah, watching it unfold, a driver always looks further ahead. You don't look at the car in front, you look at what's going on in front of them. He gets a good run coming off Luffield. and later on in the lap makes the place.
Lead gap 0.6 of a second as Cook now attacks Moffat, former teammates, of course, and as they accelerate up towards Maggots, then Josh Cook's going to be on the outside for Maggots, but the inside for Beckett's. He's ahead at Maggots just, and as the road comes to him at Beckett's, they turn right, he secures the place. So Josh Cook up into 5th spot now.
Yeah, it's a really good place to use the Toka Turbo boost there coming out of Copse, because you get an overlap and immediately you've got the inside for Beckett's. I have seen Mikey Doble retire into the pits.
Oh dear, so damage perhaps sustained after that bit of contact up at Luffield. The car did look a little crab-like when it came through, so Mikey Doble's independent hopes take a knock. And a real up-and-down season for Mikey. Outright race win at Snetterton, lots of independent success, and then all the drama, of course, of that power-maxed fire, switch of car, and trying to rebuild the season from Knock Hill onwards. There's the race leader, Dan Lloyd, and now the gap bigger than ever over Jake Hill. It's got up to a second. He has got 3 laps of boost left. Jake Hill has got 2. Gordon Shedden still got 5. So he can really have happy hour, as it were, now, because by the end, if he doesn't use any on this lap, he will then have enough boost to go to the end on every lap.
Exactly, as against only 3 laps for Lloyd and 2 for Hill. But it's been exemplary drive. Oh, this is Sutton, very close to the back of Ingram. This is our 2 championship rivals, don't forget. Is this because Sutton has a little bit better tyre life at the end of the race? This track very hard on the front tyres because of the 3 tight corners. Now, is that just a case of using boost, or is it because he's got better tyre life?
A little bit of tyre smoke from Ingram as he locked it up coming down towards Brooklands, but yeah, Sutton having a go. He desperately has to be, never mind needs to be. He's just got to get ahead of Ingram. He's got to take any point away from Tom that he possibly can to help in the championship. And there is Nick Hamilton with a problem, flame from underneath as well. I was about to tell you that the gap between the race leaders have come right down again to 3/10, so from a second down to 3/10. Hill's only got 1 lap of boost left though, and depending on what's coming out of the bottom of Nicholas Hamilton's car, the road might be a bit slippery. That's Chilton with a problem, and has he got a puncture? Because the rear of the car doesn't look good. Yeah, left rear, so he's heading for the pit lane. But I'm a bit fearful of all that flame and any liquid from Hamilton's car.
Yeah, he's pulled off, but this could necessitate a safety car if the marshals need to be on track. That's well and truly alike, that car.
It is.
And of course, Nick Hamilton, not the quickest to get out of the car, but he's out safely, I think. It just shows the power of that Toka Turbo boost, because he'll close that gap massively on the last lap using it.
Now, of course, the question is how close to a marshal's post for the fire extinguisher is Nick Hamilton's car. He stopped it as soon as he can do. Safety car is deployed, and we have a maximum of 3 laps to add on. But the safety car is called because of the Nick Hamilton fire, and this is really bad news for Dan Lloyd.
It's bad news for Dan Lloyd, probably bad news for Tom Ingram as well, because he would have been much happier if that gap had stayed open rather than close the whole pack up. That car is massively alike.
Yeah, it is, and unfortunately it's in a place where the marshals can't easily get to it. You can see Nick has stopped as best he can, as soon as he can, but now the fire truck is there, but it's been ablaze for a good 20-30 seconds, I fear, and that's not going to be seen again today, I would have feared, because not only is there an engine that's gone, there's all the bodywork damage, there's all the residual damage from the extinguishant, and still quite a bit of fuel on board, so the marshals very bravely attacked the fire, but we are under safety car here.
Fortunately, the wind is blowing the smoke away from the circuit, so it's not going to come across the circuit, but it's hard to put out, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Look, it's the extinguisher's hardly touching it initially. The fire is underneath the front bonnet, and it's, look, that extinguisher's run out, and the fire is not tamed at all. It's very hard to get at the source of the fire.
And the longer it lasts, the more damage is being done. Let's have another look. So Nick Hamilton goes up towards Beckett's. He's aware perhaps of a problem, and there the flame starts to lick underneath the car. And
there was fluid coming out.
Yeah.
Can you see there's fluid coming out? So it's an oil fire, the worst type underneath there.
That's what I was saying about being fearful of liquid on the road. The message gets through to Nick. He needs to stop, which he does, but it's a blaze that's going to take quite a bit of time to put out, and the marshals are still attacking it. So there is Nicholas Hamilton just walking back to the car, but I rather fear that's his day done, because I think that would have done a lot of damage.
Yeah, now the marshals have really got on top of that well. They've got on top of it with that second extinguisher, and have saved the worst possible damage, which will be a total loss on the car.
So Dan Lloyd goes past and possibly thinks to himself, I hope this blaze carries on, because he doesn't really want that many racing laps the other side of the safety car. He'd be very happy to finish now. Look at the concentration here. Dan, as I said earlier on, he has been an outright race winner. He's got 3 victories to his name. But if you were to give Restart Racing the team's first outright win, he would be the hero of the hour. And sort of pulls himself together there, look, coming down towards Brooklands, gives himself a shake.
That's exactly what that is. That's just right. Get a grip of yourself. Don't relax too much under the safety car. Keep your concentration up. That's literally a little aid menoir that you see drivers do. But yeah, for him personally, it would be fantastic. He really struggles to put the budget together to go racing. He's one of the most enthusiastic race drivers out there. He has his own TV channel, DLTV, and he has a lot of supporters. He had the financial hurdle of a blown engine to overcome halfway through the year, and this would be a fantastic reward for him if he can pull off this victory.
Peter Jones, the man behind Restart Racing these days, big investment made, a lot of plans, and he would be not only a very happy man, but a very proud man if his team could add its name to the list of outright race winning squads in the championship. The sister car of Chris Smiley, of course, had a tougher day in qualifying. Chris a bit further back in the queue, but nervous times now. The race elongated to 25 laps because of this safety car period. We add on a maximum of 3. But as long as those vehicles are still trackside, then that's helping Dan Lloyd, because every time he goes past, one more lap of that 25 completed. Yeah,
and of course it means that when he does resume, he'll have less laps, maybe no laps without the boost. If it restarts again with 2 laps of boost, he'll be able to use it for both laps. So it's actually very useful for someone like Shedden, who had 3 laps left. He didn't want to be running race laps under the safety car.
No, but equally, Dan will perhaps be thinking about stacking Jake Hill into Gordon Shedden. The teams will be no doubt telling drivers of exactly how much boost they have and their rivals have. So we're on to lap 22 out of 25.
So this is on board with Camish. Look further ahead, 2 cars up. And this is the spin for Chilton. He's obviously got a problem on the left rear. I think the puncture was already there. That caused him to spin. And then he drove straight into the pit lane.
He did indeed. There he gets all sideways. How that tyre went pop will be interesting to find out. It was a big, big lose.
Yeah.
And not even Captain Car Control can save that.
No, but probably from a little touch with somebody, and it's just punctured the tyre.
He has rejoined down in 20th place. So we've lost Mikey Doble, we've lost Nicholas Hamilton, although I think Mikey Doble has gone back out, at least to try to take some independence points if he can. The work is still going on, look, around Nicholas Hamilton's car. Dan Lloyd thinking, that's it, you take your time, boys.
Yeah, definitely. He would be quite happy for this race to finish behind the safety car. Haven't seen that for a very long time, actually.
So the cars now come through Luffield. There is Mikey Doble back on track. You can see the damage to the front of the car. So Mikey, who had a pole position from Silverstone, of course, years ago, has had a tougher race. He's going to be way, way down, but just taking independence points is what he's after here.
Yeah, and hats off to the Power Max team, who have done a lot of work on that Cupra to try and make it feel as much as possible like the Astra that they, of course, lost in that fire. And Mikey Doble qualified 11th, which was a good effort.
Absolutely. And he is giving away independent championship points to both Dan Lloyd and Chris Smiley, so that's going to be an interesting situation post-race. The cars now then turn their way through Copse, and Dan Lloyd is on lap 23, so I'm rather fearing that at best we get 1 racing lap in, but it may be that we just go to the end under safety car, because not only does the fire have to be put out, but also the incident vehicles need moving. The car may well need moving as well. And Dan Lloyd, we reckon, is going to be 4 points ahead in the independent, so he catapults himself into the lead coming through this race.
Yeah, no real movement on the safety cars at all there.
No.
So I don't see it happening, because it's such a short lap. If it was a long lap, the maximum you can ever have is 3 laps behind the safety car because of fueling issues. But because it's such a short lap, we run those laps down very quickly.
And the marshals are still concerned that something might reignite. You can see, almost like Ghostbusters, they're standing there with the hoses ready to attack any more embers of the fire. So we've now done 23 laps at best we're going to get one racing lap, but I think we're going to run to the end under safety car.
Yeah, that's not going to get the, we're not going to get the vehicle moved and the safety vehicles moved while they're still looking at a potential flare-up.
Well, Dan Lloyd, as Tim has made the point, is one of the hardest working drivers within the paddock. He's been in and out of the British Touring Car Championship. We've seen him racing in Carrera Cup, we've seen him racing in TCR, we've seen him racing in what was then called the Blockpan Endurance Series, the European GT Series, endurance race for GT cars, but he loves the BTCC. He worked so hard to be on the grid, and it looks as though, even though it will be under safety car, he is going to take a 4th career win. Look at that, cross fingers in the restart garage, and they're all conscious that lap by lap, corner by corner, they are edging closer to Restart Racing's first outright victory. Dan and Chris Smiley, winners for BTC Racing, which in a sense was a sort of previous iteration of this squad. It was Bert Taylor's team, but at the end of lap 24 there's going to be one to go behind the safety car. We'd better not say anything just in case there's a drama on the last lap, but Dan Lloyd is almost home and dry.
Yeah, he should be able to relax now, but he's still concentrating. Don't want anything daft to happen, but he doesn't need to be doing any more weaving or anything else. He's just got to follow the safety car around and keep the car running. But a fantastic ride. Remember, he started 3rd and had to be aggressive to get that lead. He's earned this race, 4th. Sorry, it wasn't given to him. He started 4th and he's gone out and won it.
Of course, we hope that the cars get through post-race scrutineering checks. We've had a couple of times where Chris Smiley's sister car has been excluded from races, either for weight or for ride height dramas, so they'll be fingers crossed until they see it come off the scrutineering patch. But the celebrations are starting because the checkered flag is ready, and Restart Racing's first outright victory is going to come at Silverstone, it seems, and it's going to come courtesy of Dan Lloyd, and maybe he'll go and see Nicholas Hamilton a bit later on and commiserate about the car, but at least buy him a drink, because that safety car period and the length thereof has not given him the win, but it's certainly taken the pressure off.
Yeah, I'm sure he'd like to have done it without the safety car, but he's not going to give this one up. Congratulations, Dan Lloyd, and congratulations, Restart Racing and everybody within the team.
A 12th different winner of the season beckons then, and it is going to be Dan Lloyd, the man from Huddersfield, leads the pack through Woodcote Corner, and a 4th career victory, his first of the year. The checkered flag awaits. Dan Lloyd wins our first race of the day in the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship, and a delighted team, a delighted driver as well. Dan Lloyd has done it. Jake Hill 2nd, Gordon Shedden 3rd. They were all denied the chance to challenge as we finished under the safety car, but you can see how much that means to one of the hardest triers on the grid.